Fantastic. See, I remember Olsen Martins extremely well. Even then, it was slightly falling apart. And it was even more falling apart when I talked there last year. So I'm quite pleased to hear that it's never about building, it's always about students. St Martin's had a fantastic reputation in fashion, and even around the world, St Martin's was known as the creative place to be. And other colleges like Kingston turned out fantastic students who were, technically fabulous and, went to work in Italy because they had a real understanding of fabrics and things. But that's how St Martin's worked. I think for St Martin's people actually went real club goers. It was years who were slightly younger than me who actually were real club goers. So when I was in my third year, for example, I went out with a lot of the first years. So that was one of the good things that sort of mixed together.
What kind of stuff did you wear?
Sorry?
What kind of stuff did you wear?
What sort of stuff did I wear? All sorts. I mean, the thing was, I thought that what I was wearing was terribly normal. I do remember one particular outfit when we were living at St Martin's. I got the number 19 busing, and I couldn't understand why everybody was sort of like giving me stares and spitting at me. But I was wearing rubber trousers with a transparent fluorescent green sort of ball thing on top, and like full makeup and blue hair. But I thought I looked very normal, and I just thought that the rest of people were wrong. And I've sort of continued with that attitude ever since, actually.
Can you take us through the transition of graduating from St Martin's to actually establishing yourself as an entrepreneur?
It all happened, in a way by chance, but I do believe you can make your own luck. I went over to Paris to try and get a job, but as a dress designer, not a milliner, because I didn't think anybody would be interested in hats. So when I came back to England with my tail between my legs and a huge overdraft and very unsympathetic parents, I had to move out of London and actually got a job as a truck driver, and that was for a year, but I earned quite a lot of money. So I paid most of my debts off. And during that time, I continued sort of commuting to London, and I was going to the bits of these different clubs. And Steve Strange, who was the guy who ran it, said, well, because he had a day job as well. And he worked in the shop with PX, and he said, well, actually the people who own the shop have nobody in their basement, and they're interested in like to have a shop in their basement. And I was just making hats for my friends at that time. And sometimes they were buying them, but more often than not, I was just giving them to them. And then, to my complete amazement, within a year of leaving college, I had my own shop. I mean, I didn't really have a business. I mean, they said, what you don't know can't kill you. I made a fantastic collection of hats on my friend's kitchen table. We had a wonderful opening party. I mean, the size of the shop was, like this big. It was tiny. And we invited 500 people, and most people turned up too. It wasn't very great on 20 bottles of wine. Fortunately, there was a pub just down the road, and we all had some fantastic time. And the shop was very successful from day one. I mean, it also gave me a complete nervous breakdown because I was doing all that production and running the shop and going out all night. So then that was the next phase.
You're collaborating with many designers, one of which was Jean-Paul Gaultier. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, the Gaultier thing happened. I mean, it was weird because when I started off, I mean, I was sort of, in a way commercially very successful. I mean, we were selling quite a lot of hats, but I wasn't getting any press. And I used to have these, and it's so different to now. I remember taking like great big hat boxes up to Vogue magazine, and a particular fashion editor I showed the collection of hats to said, well, how many stockists do you have in the UK? And I said, well, just my own little shop. And she said, well, until you have 5 stockists in the UK, we can't possibly feature you in Vogue magazine. Whereas nowadays, they're absolutely hungry for anything. But anyway, to get back to your question, I was sort of working by myself, and George was a good friend of mine. He was releasing a single from his album. Now, he'd actually released about 5 or 6 singles from his first album, but they hadn't been going at all well. And actually, he was going to get fired by the record. This is not popular knowledge. But he was going to be fired by the record company. But he said, no, this one track, which is really fantastic and everybody will love it. And we played this to you on Herbie, and we all went, ugh, how dreadful. But anyway, he proved us all completely wrong. But in fact, I was in that video. There's a slide of me. These are just all general household, and I think there's probably a slide of me in the Do You Really Want to Help Me video. And Jean-Paul Gaultier saw me in that, and that was sort of partially inspiration for his first ever men's runway fashion show, or his first men's collection. So I actually, he asked me to be in the show, but I couldn't be in the fashion show. But a few months later, I went over to see him, and he showed me the film of the show. It was amazing. It was in pre-video, it was such a long time ago. And after he showed me that, he said, well, would you be interested in collaborating and doing a range of hats for my women's collection? So I said, well, yeah. And he said, well, I'm going out for lunch now. So I'll be back in about an hour and a half. Can you do your sketches, some sketches on the idea of affairs, which was what I was going for. And I'll come back and record. So that's, he came back, went through, said yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And that's how I started working with him. And that was my first season in Paris.
And can you talk us through your design process from inspiration to realization?
Where does inspiration come from? I mean, I always think that I just live my life and then somehow put that into a hat. And the more I have to do with it, the less good the hat is. I mean, in my head, I never stop designing. It's funny, when you start off, you're designing all the time. When you start in a career, you're designing all the time. And then for a very long while, you're actually running a business. And I still run a business, but actually I do design every day. I put pen to paper every day. And on the way home from here tonight, I'll have my notebook out and my sketchbook, because I actually need to sketch all the time, whenever it's possible, because there's always so many things to do. But there will be, I do a collection every 6 months, like a fashion design collection every 6 months, which is haute mode, which is like couture leather, very handmade, and there's diffusion ranges as well. But inspiration can come from anywhere.
Stephen, thank you so much. That was really fantastic. Just to finish, Fashion Communication Year 2 made a short film inspired by you and your work.
Okay.